The road to Black Hollow was never straight. It twisted and turned like it didn't want you to reach the village. The signboard had half its paint peeled off, as if it too wanted to disappear. Ananya sat quietly in the back seat of the bus, watching the fog swallow the fields outside. She had never heard of Black Hollow until last week. Her uncle had passed away mysteriously, and in his will, he had left her an old house in the village. The bus driver, a man in his late 50s with a wrinkled face, kept glancing at her in the rearview mirror. "You alone?" he asked. "Yes," she replied softly. He didn't say anything after that, but his eyes said enough people didn't come here alone. By the time the bus stopped, the sky was already turning gray. The air felt thicker, colder. A few villagers stood near the small bus stop, staring at her. Not curious, not friendly, just staring. The house was a 20-minute walk from the stop. The path was lined with leafless trees, their branches reaching out like skeletal hands. The crunch of her footsteps on the gravel felt too loud in the silence. When she finally saw it, her breath caught. The house was big, Victorian style, but falling apart. Windows were broken. The front door was slightly ajar, creaking with the wind. And yet, something about it felt as if it was waiting for her. Inside, the air was stale. Dust floated in the thin beams of light coming from the cracked windows. Furniture was covered with white sheets. Every creak of the wooden floor felt like someone was following her. She found her uncle's study on the second floor. The desk was neat, too neat for someone who died unexpectedly. On the table lay a single photograph. It was of her uncle and a shadowy figure standing just behind him. But the shadow had no face. She shivered. It must have been a trick of the light, right? That night, as she tried to sleep in one of the upstairs rooms, she heard its soft footsteps in the corridor. Slow, deliberate. She held her breath, waiting. The footsteps stopped right outside her door. Silence. And then 3 slow knocks. Ananya froze. Her eyes darted to the clock on the bedside table, 2:47 a.m. The kind of time when the world outside forgets you exist. Her heart pounded in her ears. The knocks had been slow, deliberate. Not the wind, not the house. Settling. Someone was there. She sat up slowly, her breath shaky. "Hello?" she whispered, immediately regretting it. No reply. The silence was so complete that it felt heavier than the knocks themselves. After what felt like an eternity, she slid out of bed, her bare feet touching the cold wooden floor. She tiptoed to the door, pressing her ear against it. Nothing. Her fingers hovered over the doorknob. Just open it. It's probably nothing, she told herself. With a deep breath, she turned the handle and pulled. The corridor stretched out, empty and dimly lit by the pale moonlight seeping through a cracked window at the far end. There was no one there, but the old carpet outside the door had fresh footprints. Small, but deep enough to suggest someone had been standing there for a while. Ananya's throat went dry. She followed the prints down the hall, each step creaking under her weight. The trail stopped halfway, right in front of her uncle's study. The door to the study was closed now. She remembered leaving it slightly open earlier. Her hands trembled as she reached for the doorknob, cold, like it had been in the shade for hours. The hinges groaned as she pushed it open. Inside, the room was exactly as before, except for one thing. The photograph on the desk was gone. She searched the drawers, the shelves, even the floor. Nothing. Then her eyes landed on the old wardrobe in the corner. Its doors were shut tight. She couldn't explain why, but the sight of it filled her with dread. She approached slowly. The smell hit her first damp wood and something faintly metallic. Her fingers gripped the handle. A sudden bang echoed through the house, making her jump back. It had come from downstairs. She bolted out of the study, rushing to the staircase. The ground floor was cloaked in shadow. The front door swung slowly, as if it had just been opened, and then closed again. The wind outside howled through the cracks. Heart racing, she locked the door, double-bolted it, and checked every window. Nothing seemed disturbed. She returned to her room, forcing herself to believe it was just a bad dream. But when she pulled the covers over herself, her eyes widened in terror. The missing photograph was lying on her pillow. Only now, the shadowy figure in the picture was standing closer. Ananya didn't sleep that night. The photograph lay on the pillow, its edges slightly curled, the glossy surface reflecting the dim moonlight from the window. Her uncle was smiling in the picture. The shadow beside him was not. Her fingers trembled as she picked it up. Up close, the figure's outline was wrong. Its shoulders too narrow, its arms too long. And yet, its head was perfectly upright, like it was staring straight at the camera. Straight at her. She shoved the photo into her bag, deciding she would burn it in the morning. When the first light of dawn seeped through the curtains, she forced herself out of bed. The house felt different in the daylight, less threatening, but still off. Every creak of the floorboards followed her like a whisper. In the kitchen, she found a kettle on the counter. It looked ancient, the kind that whistled when it boiled. She had just set it on the stove when a voice spoke behind her. "You shouldn't be here." She spun around. A woman stood at the doorway, her clothes plain but worn, her eyes sharp with something between pity and warning. "I'm your neighbor," she said. "My name's Mala." Ananya tried to steady her voice. "How did you? The door was locked." "It wasn't," Mala said simply, "and locks don't work here." Mala glanced around the kitchen like she was searching for something. Then she looked at Ananya's bag. "Did you find the picture?" Ananya's chest tightened. "How do you know about that?" Her neighbor didn't answer. She just stepped closer and whispered, "If it's come out, it means it's noticed you." "What's noticed me?" Ananya asked, her patience thinning. "The thing in the picture," Mala said. "It doesn't like being ignored." Before Ananya could press for more, Mala walked out just like that. No goodbye, no explanation. When Ananya followed her to the front door, she was gone. The path outside was empty. The rest of the day passed in uneasy silence. She tried to distract herself by exploring the house's dusty bedrooms, an attic filled with old trunks, and a cellar that smelled of damp earth, but nothing felt truly empty. As night fell, she sat in the study, reading through her uncle's old journals. Most entries were mundane lists of repairs, notes about the garden until she found the last one. The 17th of January. "It came again last night. Stood at the foot of my bed until the clock struck 3. I didn't move. If I move, it follows. If I breathe too loud, it leans closer. I think it wants me to see its face. God help me if I ever do." A sharp chill crawled up her spine. Her uncle died on the 18th of January. That night, she locked her bedroom door and kept the light on. But sometime past midnight, the bulb flickered. Once, twice, then went out. The room plunged into darkness. Her breath quickened. Then she heard its slow, dragging footsteps. Not in the hallway this time, inside her room. She didn't move. She didn't even blink. The sound stopped right beside her bed. And then she felt it, a slow, cold breath on her face. The cold breath lingered against her skin, each exhale impossibly slow, as if savoring her fear. Ananya's heart pounded so hard she thought it would give her away. She couldn't see it, not in the pitch black, but she knew it was standing right there. Close enough that if she reached out, her fingers would brush against it. She didn't dare. Her phone was on the bedside table, just inches away. She slid her hand slowly toward it, trying not to make a sound. Her fingertips grazed the edge of the device, and the breathing stopped. The silence that followed was worse. She froze, phone still out of reach. Then, without warning, something icy and weightless touched her cheek. She yelped and grabbed her phone, switching on the flashlight. The beam cut through the darkness. Nothing. Her room was empty, the door still locked. She sat there for hours, trembling, until dawn finally arrived. The first thing she did was grab the photograph from her bag and take it out into the backyard. The air outside was damp, heavy with morning fog. She set the photo on the ground, struck a match, and dropped it onto the glossy surface. The edges curled, blackened, and turned to ash. But before the center could burn, the fire went out. Just out. Like something had sucked the flame away. The photo lay there, untouched in the middle, the shadow figure somehow darker than before. And now, it wasn't standing beside her uncle. It was standing alone. Shaken, she went back inside, only to find Mala waiting for her in the hallway. "You tried to burn it," Mala said flatly. "You can't. Not while you're in the house." Ananya's voice cracked. "What is it?" Mala hesitated, then said, "We call it the guest. It doesn't live here. It visits. But once it notices you, it never forgets." "And my uncle? Did it?" Mala's expression darkened. He saw its face. Before Ananya could ask more, Mala turned and left, disappearing down the path like last time. By evening, Ananya decided she couldn't stay another night. She packed her bag, planning to catch the morning bus. But when she went to the front door, the bolt wouldn't move. The metal was ice cold, stiff, as if welded shut. Then she noticed something that made her blood run cold. The key she had left in the lock was gone. She searched the house frantically. Under cushions, in drawers, in her uncle's study. No key. Finally, in desperation, she checked her bedroom. It was there on her pillow, and next to it, the photograph. Now, the figure was closer than ever, its head tilted, as if leaning toward the camera. Ananya stared at the photograph. Her throat felt dry, her hands clammy. In this version, the shadow's head was tilted, almost curious. Its featureless face seemed to lean toward the lens, as if trying to get a better look at her. She dropped it instantly, the glossy surface sliding across the bedspread. The key beside it was cold, unnaturally cold, like it had been sitting in a freezer. She shoved both into her bag. She wasn't sleeping tonight. Instead, she sat in the study watching the clock tick past each hour. The rain outside started as a whisper, then grew into a steady rhythm against the windows. Around midnight, the air in the room shifted denser, heavier. The smell hit her first. Damp soil and rust. Then came the sound, a faint shuffle, like bare feet on wood, moving somewhere above her. The attic. Her gut told her to stay put. But something deeper, curiosity, or maybe a strange pull, made her grab the flashlight and climb the narrow staircase. The attic door creaked as she pushed it open. Inside, the air was stale, thick with dust motes dancing in the flashlight beam. Old trunks, broken furniture, and yellowed newspapers filled the space. She swept the light across the room and froze. At the far end, something stood in the corner, still, tall, too thin. Its arms hung low, fingertips almost reaching its knees. No face, just a smooth, pale surface where features should have been. Yet she knew it was watching her. Her breath hitched. She took a step back. The thing didn't move. Then, it tilted its head, exactly like in the photograph. The flashlight flickered, In that split second of darkness, it moved closer. Another flicker, and it was closer still. By the third flicker, it stood right in front of her. She stumbled back, heart hammering, and bolted down the attic stairs, slamming the door shut. She pressed her back against it, chest heaving. Silence. Then 3 slow knocks from the other side. She fled to her room, locking the door, shoving a chair under the handle. For hours, she sat curled in the corner, waiting for dawn. When the sun finally rose, she found the attic door wide open, and on the floor beneath it, another photograph. This time, there was no one else in the frame, just her. Ananya stared at the new photograph in her trembling hands. It was her standing in her bedroom, the same clothes she was wearing right now. The image was too sharp to have been taken with any old camera. It looked like it had been taken seconds ago. Her mind raced. Someone had been inside her room. Someone was still inside the house. The floorboard above her creaked. Her eyes darted to the ceiling. Slow, deliberate steps moved across the upstairs, landing her uncle's old bedroom. She grabbed her bag, stuffing the photograph inside without looking at it again. This time, she wasn't waiting for dawn. She was getting out, locked door or not. She ran to the front door, gripped the bolt, and yanked hard. It didn't budge. The cold metal stung her skin like ice. Her breath fogged in the air inside the house. Then, from behind her, she heard it. Not footsteps this time. A voice. Low, slow, whispering her name. She turned, and it was there. The guest. It stood in the hallway, its pale, faceless head tilted as if studying her. Its limbs were impossibly long, fingers brushing the floor. She tried to scream, but her voice caught in her throat. It began to walk toward her. Each step was silent, yet she felt the vibrations through the floor. When it was only a few feet away, it stopped and crouched, bringing its head level with hers. Even without eyes, she knew it was looking at her. A thin hand reached out. The skin stretched tight over the bone and gently touched her cheek. The air around her turned freezing. And then it spoke, not in her ears, in her head. "Do you want to see?" Her uncle's journal flashed in her mind. "God help me if I ever do." She shook her head violently. "No!" The thing's head tilted further. It leaned in until its smooth face was inches from hers. Her vision blurred, her ears filled with a rushing sound like the ocean in a storm. Before she could close her eyes, the skin on its face began to shift. Split. She saw. Her scream tore through the house, echoing into the fog outside. The next morning, Mala stood at the bus stop, waiting. The bus arrived, but Ananya wasn't on it. Later, the villagers found the house empty. Her bag was still by the door, her clothes in the wardrobe. Only one thing lay on the kitchen table. A new photograph. It showed Ananya, smiling beside a shadowy figure. This time, she was the one standing closer to the camera.